Welcome to the Damn Strong podcast. I'm your host, Bree, and I'm a full-time online fitness coach, and my passion is to educate women on all things fitness. I help women just like you step into the power of knowledge and commitment to ultimately live your best and strongest life. In this podcast, we'll talk about being damn strong in our body, mind, and life. I'll be teaching you how to navigate nutrition, strength training, and mindset challenges. So get ready to take some notes because we're building a damn strong life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bree, and this is the Damn Strong podcast. Today, we've got a Q&A, which are always some of my favorites, and I know it's some of your guys' favorite Q&As, or not Q&As, some of your guys' favorite podcasts as well. If you don't know, I take all of these questions directly from you guys. So what I try to do is once a month, I can't talk today, once a month, I post a question box specifically to the podcast on my stories. I ask for questions and then we do this episode. So I always do weekly Q&As just in general, but I make sure that at least once a month that I have a Q&A episode. It doesn't always work out that way, but for the most part, I try to always do a Q&A episode because these episodes, like from my end, looking at analytics, do really well. And I always get a ton of feedback from them as you guys enjoy them. So here we are with another episode. I actually have the questions pulled up on my phone. So if you're watching the video and you see me look away, it's me looking down at my phone. So there's not really much more to talk about. So I'll just kind of jump right into it. So the first question, I'll be honest, I'm not like a huge expert on, but someone did ask how to improve heart rate variability, also known as HRV. So I'll explain what I do know about HRV, but I'm obviously not like a cardiologist and there's only so much extent to my knowledge, but your heart rate variability, it's a little bit different than like your beats per minute, right? The easiest way for me to explain is like how your heart rate is able to vary, right? So when you're sitting down, not doing a lot, it's really slow. And then like now I'm talking on the podcast and I'm moving my hands around, my heart rate is going to go up. And then when you're running, it's going to increase. And so when you have a high heart rate variability, not a high heartbeats per minute, high heart rate variability, that is an inclination of being really healthy, that your body is able to adapt well to a lot of situations. As you age, typically your HRV goes down. And so their question was, I think, how to better or increase it. Oh, my phone locked. Let's see. How to improve it. From my basic knowledge of, obviously talk to your doctor if you have heart issues or anything like that, but it's really going to come down to exercise and eating vegetables and fruits and proteins, and exercising regularly. I have seen some people talk about how like managing your stress and your emotions and things like that can really be helpful. And I think for a long time for me, whenever I heard people talk about like mental health, not that I ever thought mental health wasn't a thing, but when people be like, yeah, like manage your stress, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. Let me focus on exercising and food. I'm a massive believer in, I think managing your emotions and your emotional health plays so much of a bigger part in your life than you realize. So if your training's great, if your nutrition is great, find a way to reduce stress, find a way to have these routines and like an on-time bedtime and all those things. I think that'd be a small way to improve it. But other than that, that is my extent of knowledge in that area. Okay. Next one is, what are some of your fitness goals for this year? This is a great question. So if I'm just being really, really, really honest, I'm kind of tired of like the bulking and cutting and maintaining, the bulk and cut and maintain. I've been on my so-called fitness journey, officially, like I've always been active. I came from a family that was very nutrition oriented. Like I've always, health has been a part of my life. But I would say like when I first officially was like on my own, figuring things out, really I'm trying to define it, but it's hard. It's roughly 10 years. Like I started in 2013-ish and we're coming into 2024. So almost 11 years. And I mean, for the first, I'll be honest, like 5-6 years, I messed around a lot. I didn't know what I was doing. I was getting into the fad of things, the quick fixes, all of that. So essentially, I feel like I've been figuring things out for like 10, 11 years. And I would say probably 5-6 years into my journey, I finally like dialed things in. I'm like, okay, this is how metabolism works. This is why you eat protein. This is why you lift weights. Like it all clicked. And not only did that stuff click, I also was able to hold myself accountable and I stopped yo-yoing and just like a lot of things clicked roughly like 5 to 6 years into my journey. And so 5 to 6 years of trying to figure things out on your own. And then the last like 4 or 5 years of like really going at it and just really embracing the journey and really loving it. I'm just kind of tired of being on that cycle of like being an optimal muscle building and then going to a cut and being an optimal muscle building, going to a cut. It just feels like this cycle that I've been on for like the last 11 years. That's not a bad thing, but that's just truly honestly what I'm feeling. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to chill at maintenance for like the foreseeable future, at least a year at minimum. Like I've thought about going into another bulk because I do want more muscle, but I'm like, Brie, just chill at maintenance and like be at maintenance and build muscle. Yeah, it's not as fast as it would be if you were in a bulk, but like that's not what life is about. Life isn't about doing things as fast as possible. Sometimes you can try and do things as fast as possible. But if you're feeling this from like surplus to deficit, from surplus to deficit, and just this round and round and round it goes, you don't have to do that. Just be at maintenance, enjoy life, and put on muscle a little bit slower. You're still going to put on muscle at maintenance, but don't feel that pressure that you have to go into another bulk. And I think also being an online coach and being in like the social media presence, I feel that pressure to be in these cycles because I want to show women it's okay to gain weight. I also want to show women what it looks like to be in a cut, and you don't have to cut your favorite foods. And so when I'm in this like lull of like maintenance, it's not exciting. It's like how you're going to be living your life for most of your life is kind of like unsexy. You know what I mean? Like being at maintenance and just like chilling and like enjoying your life and working out regularly and eating fruits and veggies. There's nothing really sexy about that. People are more attracted to like the bulks and the cuts when it comes to content. But I have to think about my mental health and where I am in my journey. So to answer the question, let me like just reread to actually get the full question to answer it. What are my fitness goals this year? Honestly, to just chill. I just want to enjoy this year. I want to be at maintenance, enjoy being at maintenance. I'm also a very goal-oriented person. And it's hard for me to just sit and chill at maintenance. Like if I don't have a massive goal, I'm like, well, what am I doing here? Like I need something to chase towards. And so it's reframing my mindset of like, look, maintenance is chasing towards something. Look, while you're at maintenance with your nutrition, why don't you just chase towards continue to be strong? Maybe we have like, okay, push-up, pull-ups. Maybe you go for a benching goal. Like I've never super trained chest just because I do have implants. And so maybe I train chest a little bit more than I have. Like I think I can find some other goals to run towards so my brain feels satisfied a little bit more. But to answer that, I just want to chill for this next year. And I was talking to one of my best friends and I was telling her, I was like, honestly, I think I'm just going to chill for like maybe in the next few years. And then she was asking me the other day, would you ever go into a bulk again? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of itching for it a little bit. So, but I think just for my mental health, it'll be good for me to push back and be like, Brie, like be satisfied in where you are now. And like, I do this with my clients, like we need to, it's a lot of progress to be able to pause. So that's kind of my next year goals is just continue to be as strong as possible, live my best possible life in maintenance. I also have a ton of travel coming up. I have 3 international trips coming up this year, maybe actually even 4 now that I think about it. I have some other travel going around. And so just with a really, really travel filled year, I don't think I just want the pressures of all that. And I say that with a little hesitation because I don't want anyone listening to this thinking, oh, well, I'm traveling 4 international trips this year. I can't go into a cut or I can't go into bulk or I can't prioritize my health. You can. I'm in a different situation, right? Like I'm very healthy. There's nothing super aesthetic that I'm really chasing towards. Like I just have this moment where like, it's always an option for everyone. But right now it's just like, I don't have anything that I have to need to want to be chasing towards. And it's like, you know what? It just backs up the reason of where I want to chill. So to be honest, that is truly where my goals are at for this year, just to be chilling, to enjoy life, and just continue to get stronger, be able to do like 20 bodyweight push-ups. I may be like an online coach, but like I suck at push-ups, but I also haven't trained. I got my boobs done in 2015 and I probably trained chest consistently for the first time starting like last year. It was the first time I trained chest since 2015 and we're in the year, that was 2023. That's almost 8 years. And so of course I can't do a push-up. Like I don't train chest that often. So, little things like that. I hope that kind of explains what my goals are. I feel unsatisfied in that answer. Like I gave that answer. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't explain it. Yeah, it does explain it. My goals can just be to just chill, So I don't know. Okay. Next one is if considering going off birth control, is there a better time to do that in regards to bulk versus deficit versus maintenance? I'm not an expert in birth control. I would 100% talk to your doctor about coming off of that. However, in my expertise / what I've seen with other clients, myself, it's probably best to come off of it in like a maintenance surplus area. I mean, you have to remember you're coming off birth control and your hormones are more than likely gonna kind of be all over the place. And what happens with, and this is why women see weight gain on birth control or when they get off of birth control, is because with their hormones going a little nuts, they tend to just, you want to eat more, you get more hungry. And so being in a deficit coming off your birth control could be really, really tough because everyone's experience is different. You could come off birth control and you're totally fine. You don't experience like a massive increase in hunger or anything like that, and you're good, but you could. And so it might be really nice to be like, you know what, let me be at maintenance or a surplus, just somewhere where you're not in a deficit. I think would be a best ideal spot. Plus, you'll have more food to like nourish yourself as you're coming off of those hormones. So my recommendation, I'd be on maintenance or surplus, either one. I don't think you need to pick necessarily one. But if you do come off for your birth control and you're at maintenance and your hunger drive is a little bit higher and you do go into a little bit of surplus, you're just in a more optimal building position at the end of the day, right? So all that to say, if you're not already in a deficit and you're considering come off of it, first see how you do with coming off your birth control and then kind of assess from there. If it's really easy peasy, then you can consider a deficit. Okay, next question. I'll be honest, I do not know how to answer because I don't know what you're asking in regards, but you just said sauna intervals or heat training. My question is regards to what exactly? And then heat training, I'm not familiar with, but it depends, I guess, what the purpose is. And even if you said the purpose was like maybe cardiovascular or whatever it is, or I don't know. It depends what for, but I don't think I'm any expertise in sauna and heat training. So unfortunately, I cannot answer that. To lose body fat, it doesn't matter. Yeah, can't really answer that question. I'm so sorry. Okay, moving on to the next one. Can you share tips or methods regarding planning and scheduling for gym, food, etc.? Yes, I can. So I'll first start with the gym when it comes to planning and scheduling. When it comes to the gym and planning, I'm going to just I am walking back even to the babyest of steps, right? So the first thing is, I know this sounds so like duh, but I promise you guys, it makes a difference. There's a reason that you put your dentist appointment, your nail appointment, whatever on your calendar. One, so you know that it's coming up. And then two, it's a scheduled event. Like you're going to stick to that. Like there's no changing it, right? So I would first start with using a calendar, whatever this on your iPhone or Gmail or whatever, and actually plan out your workouts, pick the time that you're going to go, account for drive time, all that stuff, and put it on your calendar. Second thing I would do is the night before. So if you're going in the morning, honestly, if you're going in the afternoon, like after work, I would set out your workout stuff and you make your pre-workout, everything you can that prepares you for the workout the next day. So if you normally go to workout after work, have your workout clothes packed in a bag, your pre-workout packed, everything the night before. So when you get up in the morning, you grab that bag and you go straight from work, from the office to the gym. You don't come home, which then you risk, just sitting on the couch and not actually going. So I would make the barrier to entry of actually going to the gym as low as possible. Third one I can think of is have an actual training plan. It's I know everyone thinks like, oh, like it's fine, I can just figure out when I get there. But there's something about going into the gym, already knowing exactly what you're going to do or having something written out for you. It takes off such a mental load. Really, everything I just talked about is lowering the barrier to you actually doing it. When you have it planned and you pick a time, you can't make an excuse of like, oh, I don't know when I'm going to go, or I'm going to try and go this day, or I'm going to make an effort to go this way. But then something pops up. You're like, hey, I'm going at this time. I'm not going to schedule a nail appointment at the same time that my gym time is because that's already scheduled. Putting your workout clothes out ahead of time, making your pre-workout, all of those things are making it even easier. And then having a workout plan or knowing exactly what you're going into, I think not only makes it easier going to the gym of just having something, but I think also you can prepare for it. Like there are some days where, leg days are really, really tough for pretty much everyone compared to upper body, right? Especially when you're doing like a squat where it's like your entire body is involved versus like a bicep curl, right? And so I know for tomorrow, okay, it's a leg day. I know what exercise I have. I can prepare mentally for it. So when it comes to the gym, plan on your calendar, set out workout clothes, get your pre-workout, anything that you need to be ready for it. And then have a training program plan for when you walk into the gym so you know exactly what you're doing. If you need a program or a plan, I have a group training program that is, in my opinion, absolutely fantastic. It opens up for enrollment every 6 weeks. Currently, when I'm filming this episode, we are opening up for enrollment on February 26th. If this is way in the future, either shoot me a DM or usually you can check the bio in my Instagram page and I will list the next time that enrollment opens. And then you have it already written for you. You don't have to figure out yourself. Okay. Second part to your question, you asked methods regarding planning and scheduling for food. So how I personally do this, there's a few methods. One is usually on Sundays, Sage and I will talk about for dinners what we want to eat. So that way on Sundays, he can go and grocery shop for all those dinners. That makes it really, really simple. Something else that I really like to do is ingredient prepping. And so, you've heard of meal prepping a lot where people will actually like on Sundays make 4 servings of this and 4 servings of this and meal prepping. I think that's a great idea. Something that I like to do is I like to ingredient prep, which means when I get home from the grocery store, I chop up all my vegetables, I chop up all my fruit. If I have beef that I purchased for the week, I cook all that beef and I put it in a container. That way, when I go to make something, it's already chopped up. It's already all like the ingredients are prepped for the week, which I really like because for me personally, it gives a little bit of variability to my week, which is so funny for me to say because I am such a creature of habit. But, sometimes I'll make, sometimes I don't even make the chicken. I will go to the store and buy like pre-shredded, like rotisserie chicken. And then I have rotisserie chicken in my fridge and I can throw that in my soup. I can make a quesadilla. I can make a taco. What else can I throw it in that I can think of off the top of my head? I don't know, but there's just like a lot of variations of what I can make with it. So my biggest tip is ingredient prepping. If you're not an ingredient prep person, then you could do meal prep. But probably the biggest game changer for food, like planning and scheduling and all that kind of stuff, is pre-tracking. The night before, almost every day, I feel like the more routine of an eater you are, and the more that you do this, you can kind of go by the seat of your pants. But for the most part, I will plan out my next day the night before. So I'm in bed and I'm scrolling on Instagram anyways. I'll pull up my FitnessPal, I'll track my breakfast, I'll track my lunch, and then I'll track the dinner that Sage and I have planned. And once I've tracked it all, if I look and go, oh, okay, I'm over my calories. Oh, I didn't hit my protein. Well, Sage and I already have dinners planned. So I go back into my breakfast or my lunch and I will restructure things. So I know I'm going to hit my calories and I'm going to hit my protein for the day. And I think this is such an underutilized tool. For most of my clients that come to me, they don't pre-track, and I very much push pre-tracking, and even more so for the weekends. So for clients, we work together, we always talk about their weekend before it comes. And so a lot of times, like I have a pizza party or my kid has a birthday party we're going to, or I'm going out for girls' night. And what we'll do is we'll pull up the menu for that restaurant, decide what they want to eat. Even if they don't know exactly, we pick 2-3 items. We'll go ahead and pre-track that and put it into my FitnessPal. So that way, when it comes to that day, on Saturday, for instance, they're doing a girls' night out and they're like, you know what, tonight I'm really feeling this dish. They can go and tap that to pre-track it and then fill in the rest of their day. So that way, when it comes to the weekend and you're going out to a restaurant with girlfriends, you're not panicking the moment, what am I going to eat? How am I going to track it? How many calories is it going to be? Am I going to be able to fit it into my day? We talk about how many drinks they want to have ahead of time, all of that stuff. So then we know, okay, cool. The dinner you're going into, you're having 2 drinks and you're getting this to eat. That's 800 calories. Now we're going to work our way backwards throughout the day. So you're still going to eat breakfast. You're still going to eat lunch. Maybe you have to tweak things around a little bit, but that way you go into Saturday not panicking of if things going to work out. So I think one of the most underutilized things with food planning is pre-tracking things. So next question is, as a coach who isn't a dietitian, how do you combat imposter syndrome feeling? So if you don't know, there is a difference between an online fitness coach and a registered dietitian. A registered dietitian actually goes through a college level, master levels degree and actually has the title of registered dietitian. And so what I'm assuming that you're asking is like, because I'm not a registered dietitian specifically, how do I deal with like imposter syndrome feelings? I think for me, how I handle it is like the amount of knowledge that I have for nutrition is plenty to help the general population. Something that registered dietitians can do that someone like me cannot do is I cannot write a meal plan for a certain disease or disorder. Like if you have diabetes and you're trying to manage like your blood sugar levels, I cannot write you a meal plan based off that. A registered dietitian could, right? I feel like as coaches, we put this pressure on ourselves that we have to know like the itty bitty teeny tiny details of everything, like how much leucine is in whey protein, or like, how the protein breakdowns of amino acid in like a pea plant protein. Like you don't need to know that. Yes, as a coach, you should know that like there's, for vegans, there's rice and pea plant protein sources. And if you're not vegan, you can have a whey protein source. Like those basic things should be known. But like the actual amino acid breakdown of whey protein or pea plant protein, you don't need to know. And so I think we put this pressure over ourselves that we have to know these things. There is much less that you need to know to help the general population into having a healthier diet. And I think part of this is social media that affects us. I think this affects the general population, your clients, and I think it also affects coaches. Of the social media space makes you feel like you know nothing about health, because they're always popping up like this and that and this health and this thing and health, whatever. There's like all of this, like just like an over consuming amount of like information on social media. And so it makes you second guess, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that like, whey protein has this many grams of leucine per whatever, and all these things. You're like, I don't know that. You don't need to know that to be a wonderful coach. To be a really good coach, if you're helping them with weight loss or weight gain or building muscle, I guess that kind of goes into like training and stuff when I say building muscle. But it's like, for this speaks to everyone, not just coaches and not just like the general population. This is everyone included. Like eat veggies, eat fruit, eat a good amount of protein, hit good fiber goals, and you're knocking out 99.9% of everything, right? And so I feel like social media makes you feel like you have to know more when you don't. So how I fight the imposter syndrome of not being a registered dietitian, I think I've come to terms that I don't need to know so much nitty gritty that I thought I needed to know to actually help people. I think what's actually been more helpful for people is like, yes, I know how to help a client with getting good protein sources in, whether they're vegan, vegetarian, or eats everything. I know how to help a client get more veggies in their diet, how to get more fruits in their diet, how to be more active. But with all that, I know how to help them navigate the mindset space that comes around with that, and not demonizing foods, the cookie, the brownie. Like those things are still healthy in moderation, obviously. So things how I battle it too. I think another thing, this just applies, like this kind of goes outside of just like the realm of like dietitian stuff, is if you're a coach and you're getting imposter syndrome, I think it can be so helpful to hire another coach that you feel is more knowledgeable than you, that can really help to guide you. So when you have those clients that come up where you start to get that imposter syndrome, you can talk with that coach and be like, okay, this is what I'm running into. This is what I'm going through. Am I doing the right thing? And that coach can kind of help affirm or help you to problem solve through stuff. That was something that was so invaluable to me in my journey, is hiring coaches that I aspired to be as far as knowledge. And then when there were things that I was second guessing on myself, either they'd affirm like, Brie, you know what to do. Like, you've got this. Like, yes, I would do the same thing. Or they would open up my mindset and be like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I've worked with several online coaches and helped them navigate things with clients. And so I think the more that you just reiterate, you know enough, or having another coach to help expand your knowledge, the more you know, I feel like the less you get imposter syndrome. But it doesn't escape you entirely. I think you will always deal with imposter syndrome. It's just navigating those feelings and reaffirming yourself, and you know what you're doing. But then also it can really help to have a coach kind of guiding you along there too. Okay. This one is just a little tag on from the last question. The same person that asked the last question just said, I find your podcast super valuable. I just want to tell you that after all of my questions. Thank you. Super appreciate the compliment. Okay. Next one is, I'm afraid to get on surplus. Can I gain muscle on maintenance only? Absolutely. You can gain muscle even in a deficit. There's a few scenarios where maybe not. If you're super advanced in your muscle building, like you have a ton of muscle and you're lean, probably not. But for most people, you can gain muscle in a deficit. Is it as fast? No. You're going to be even better gaining muscle at maintenance, and then surplus is the most optimal. So I want you to stop thinking of like surplus, I gain muscle, deficit, I don't gain muscle. It's really more so a range. It's like deficit, you'll gain some, Maintenance, you're going to gain more. Surplus, you're going to gain the most. And so if you're uncomfortable going to a surplus, absolutely be at maintenance. Stick at maintenance for a great period of time, and you can 100% put on muscle at maintenance. You do not have to go into a surplus. Okay, next question. If you want to body recomp, do the exercises really matter between gender? No. If you want to build a chest, whether you're male or female, same exercise. If you want to build shoulders, male or female, same exercise. If you want to build glutes, same exercises. Now, depending on what you prioritize, what you really like women typically tend to go for lower body, men typically tend to go for upper body. So how much volume or how much focus you put on a certain muscle could change just based, honestly, I feel like that's just a preference thing, right? But if you want to grow something, you do the same methods as if you're male or female. It is not going to change whether you're doing body recomp, deficit, surplus, maintenance. If you have a goal to grow a certain muscle, it's not going to change based off gender, how you target it or how you hit it. I think the biggest misconception with this, and I know the question was, do the exercises really matter? But I think where I even see more of a misconception is like rep ranges. I feel a lot of women are like, oh, I want to get long, lean muscle. And it's like, muscle is already lean and you're not going to make it any longer. Like in order to make a muscle longer, you would have to literally unattach the muscle and reattach it somewhere on your body to make it longer. Like that's just not a thing. It's frustrating because it holds women back from actually building muscle. But even when it comes to male, female, like rep ranges are going to be the same as well. We see that anywhere under 30 reps is going to build muscle. And it's not that 15 to 20 reps builds long and lean muscle and 6 to 8 reps builds bulkier muscle. You can grow muscle or you can shrink a muscle. So at the end of the day, if your goal is to build muscle, there's different times where you might use a different rep range. But if you're doing 8 reps as a female or 8 reps as a male, you're going to be building muscle. It's not going to change how necessarily you're building the muscle per se. It's all the same method. I think also a lot of times, men see like hip thrust as like, that's a female exercise. It's like, no, if you want to grow your glutes, like RDLs, squats, hip thrusts, they're for everyone. If you have intentions to build glutes, hamstrings, whatever it is, the same selection of exercises is going to apply. Okay. And the last one here is actually another training question. It says, when writing up a workout, what determines if an exercise should be 3 versus 4 sets? This is a great question because I think a lot of us see the standard like 4 sets, like everyone does like 8 to 12, 4 sets, or 10 to 15, do 4 sets. And it's really going to be your volume per se. So if you're doing 3 exercises, let's just do like lower body. I'm just going to stick with lower body. If you're doing like 3 exercises for lower body, you probably could do 4 sets for all of those. But if you're doing 4 exercises, you might be able to get away with 3 because at the end of the day, it's more about total volume. However, if you are, let's say you're doing 4 exercises, but you're not taking them very close to failure, you're going to need more volume. So you might want to be doing 4 sets of 4 exercises because you're not pushing the intensity very hard. So you have to consider volume when you are programming 4 versus 3 sets of how intense you're taking your sets and how many exercises you're doing across the spectrum of a week. So for example, I'm not saying everyone should train this way, but this was a very interesting thing that I experienced with my brother-in-law. Is he's a bodybuilder, and something that he was doing was he was only doing 1 set of every exercise. However, he was doing like 8 exercises, and he was taking those exercises on the 1 set to absolute failure. So again, it's a volume thing because he was taking every single set that he was doing to absolute total failure. He was only doing 1 set of every exercise. He was doing like 8 leg exercises versus 4. So it was an interesting experiment to see him go through. He actually took me through one of his workouts, and it was so interesting to go through. I'm not saying everyone needs to train that way, and I'd be interested like in the future to try that out and see what that would be like for, I don't know, a period of like 6 months training that way. But he had to change around his volume because he was only doing 1 set. But because he's only doing 1 set, he was upping the intensity, and then he upped the amount of exercises. So that's what I always say, like you'll see on my Instagram stories, like if you can do more than 4 leg exercises on a leg day, you're not going hard enough, because if you're doing more than 4, your intensity is probably not there. Like the end of 4, honestly, at the end of 3 exercises, I'm ready to go home. Like I'm pushing myself to do that 4th exercise. So it really, I know this probably didn't perfectly answer your question, but it really depends on the volume, whether you do 3 or 4. What you could do is you could test it out. If you're currently doing 3, up it to 4 for every exercise and see how your recovery is. If your recovery is really, really great, awesome. You probably can handle that amount of volume. If you notice that your recovery is not great from upping it to 4 sets every exercise, then you could dial it back a little bit. So I know that's not a clear-cut answer, but I hope that helps to answer it. But in my group training program, we very much focus on intensity. And so I have everyone training for 3 sets. But that's because we have the amount of volume there as far as like number of exercises. And then we also have the intensity there. So we don't need to be doing as many sets. All right, guys, that is it for the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, a free way to support the podcast and the show is to screenshot this if you're listening and share it to your stories. Tag me so I can share it on my stories. If you guys have any follow-ups to any of these questions that I got to answer, feel free to shoot me a DM. I get back to all of my DMs. I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Damn Strong Podcast. Show me some love by leaving a review and sharing a screenshot of this episode on your Instagram stories. Until next time, stay strong.